Where was Jesus during Lucifer's rebellion? This question has haunted theologians for centuries. The answer will shake everything you thought you knew about the greatest battle ever fought. The eternal throne pulses with absolute authority. Two figures share the same glory since before the first galaxy existed. The Father and the Son in perfect communion. In the heavenly courts, a cherub walks among sacred flames. Lucifer, the most perfect creation ever formed. Unequaled beauty. Supreme wisdom. Created by the very words of Jesus to cover the divine throne. Until the impossible happens. I will be like the Most High. The first rebellion explodes like cosmic thunder. The most beautiful angel becomes the darkest adversary. Heaven splits in mortal war. Michael draws his celestial sword. Angelic legions take their positions for battle. The dragon and a third of the hosts roar defiance against the Creator. But where was Jesus during this cosmic war? The eternal Son who created every cherub, every seraph, every principality and power. Where was the one whose word sustains entire universes? Did he fight alongside Michael? Did he wield celestial weapons? Did he command armies against the rebel? I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. This statement from Christ himself reveals a shocking truth. Jesus was not absent. He was not caught off guard. He was not unarmed. He was exactly where he needed to be. His position during the greatest battle ever fought hides a mystery that explains why God allowed the rebellion, why the Creator watched his most beautiful creation turn against him, and why Satan's fall was not divine defeat, but eternal strategy. The truth will transform your understanding of spiritual warfare, of God's plan, and of who truly controls this battle between good and evil. Prepare to discover where Jesus was when the impossible happened. The Word who created the cherub. In the beginning, before any world existed, before the first galaxy spun in the void, there was only Him, Jesus, the eternal Word, sharing the same glory with the Father from eternity past. When God decided to create, it was through the Son that everything came into existence. John makes this crystal clear. All things were made through Him, and without Him, nothing was made that was made. Every atom, every star, every angel, all created by the powerful word of Jesus. And among all the angelic creations, there was one that surpassed all others in beauty and perfection, Lucifer. The prophet Ezekiel reveals stunning details about this extraordinary being. Lucifer was the model of perfection, full of wisdom and beauty. His garments were adorned with precious stones, sardius, topaz, diamond, beryl, onyx, jasper, sapphire, carbuncle, and emerald. Artfully worked gold covered his body. But here is the mystery few understand. It was Jesus who created him. By the very words of the Son, Lucifer came into existence. The same Jesus who would later walk the dusty streets of Palestine was the one who formed the most magnificent cherub ever created. The irony is devastating. The Creator forming the one who would become his greatest adversary. Lucifer was not an ordinary angel. Ezekiel describes him as the anointed guardian cherub. He had direct access to the throne of God. He covered the most holy place with his wings. He was blameless in all his ways from the day he was created. Imagine the scene. Jesus, through his creative word, forming this being of incomparable beauty. Every detail planned with divine perfection. Every attribute granted with eternal purpose. Wisdom, beauty, the privileged position, all the work of the Son's hands. And Jesus knew exactly what he was doing. The Creator was not caught off guard by the future rebellion. When he formed Lucifer, Jesus already knew the end of the story. He saw the pride that would be born in the cherub's heart. He saw the 5 statements of rebellion that would destroy heavenly harmony. He saw the war that would divide heaven. And yet, he created him. This truth reveals something profound about the nature of God. The Lord does not create by accident. Every being, every circumstance, every event serves a greater purpose within the eternal plan. Even Lucifer's rebellion was foreseen in the divine mind before the foundation of the world. Paul confirms this truth in Colossians. By him all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created through him and for him. Thrones, dominions, principalities, powers. The entire angelic hierarchy came into existence through Jesus. This includes Lucifer in his original position as guardian cherub. But there was something unique in the relationship between Jesus and Lucifer. Among all angelic creatures, this cherub was placed in the position closest to the throne. He walked in the midst of the fiery stones, a reference to the most holy place where the glory of God is manifested with the greatest intensity. Lucifer was, literally, the masterpiece of Jesus' angelic creation. And here lies the mystery that brings us to the central question. If Jesus created Lucifer perfect, if he knew his future, if he foresaw his rebellion, where was the sun when everything fell apart? The answer begins to take shape when we understand that the relationship between creator and creature is never one of equality. No matter how perfect Lucifer was, no matter how many privileges he possessed, he remained a creature. Jesus was his creator. The distance between them was infinite. But Lucifer forgot this fundamental truth. The anointed cherub began to contemplate his own beauty, his wisdom, his privileged position, and a terrible thought was born in his perfect heart. If he was so magnificent, why couldn't he be equal to God? Jesus watched everything. The Creator seeing his most perfect creation slowly becoming corrupted. Pride growing like cancer in the heart that was once pure. Envy being born where once there had been worship. And Jesus did not intervene. Why? Because something greater was happening. A plan that would encompass not only the angelic rebellion, but the creation of man, the fall in Eden, and the very incarnation of the Son to redeem what was lost. Lucifer was created with free will. The ability to choose between good and evil, between submission and rebellion, was an essential part of his nature. Jesus did not create robots programmed to worship. He created intelligent beings capable of genuine love, and consequently capable of rejection. Lucifer's first choice was to worship. For an immeasurable period, the cherub perfectly fulfilled his purpose. He covered the throne with reverence. He served with joy. He worshipped with purity. But then came the second choice, and this time, Lucifer chose wrongly. The verse in Ezekiel is devastating. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created, till iniquity was found in you. Iniquity, in the most perfect being ever created by Jesus, the impossible happening before the Creator's eyes. And where was Jesus at this crucial moment? He was exactly where he has always been, on the throne, sustaining all things by the word of his power, knowing the end from the beginning, allowing his creation to exercise the free will he himself had granted. Because Jesus knew that Lucifer's rebellion, as painful as it was, would serve an eternal purpose. It would reveal the nature of true love. It would show the difference between forced worship and chosen worship. And it would prepare the way for the greatest demonstration of love ever seen, the cross of Calvary. The Creator watched his masterpiece destroy itself. And in his divine heart, he was already planning the work of recreation that would restore all that was lost. Jesus watched. From the eternal throne, the Creator contemplated his angelic masterpiece beginning to unravel. Not as a passive spectator, but as the one who knows the end from the beginning. The Word who formed Lucifer now witnessed the impossible. Perfection, choosing imperfection. The first sign appeared as an almost imperceptible crack in the cherub's soul. Lucifer gazed at his own beauty in the reflection of the precious stones that adorned his being. The emeralds, the diamonds, the artfully worked gold, all creations of Jesus, began to function as mirrors of vanity. What should have directed worship to the Creator began to feed pride in the creature. And Jesus saw everything. The cherub's heart, once transparent as pure crystal, began to darken. Thoughts that should never exist in a perfect being began to sprout like weeds in sacred soil. Why should he bow? Why should he serve? If he was so magnificent, so wise, so powerful, Why could he not be equal? The Bible reveals the exact thoughts that were born in Lucifer's heart. You said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mount of assembly on the far sides of the north. I will ascend above the highest clouds. I will be like the Most High. 5 statements of rebellion. 5 blows against divine authority, each one observed by Jesus himself. I will ascend into heaven. Lucifer was already in heaven, but he wanted to rise beyond his appointed position. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. He wanted authority over other angels. I will sit on the mount of assembly. He desired to occupy the place of worship destined only for God. I will ascend above the highest clouds. He longed to transcend the limits of creation. I will be like the Most High. The final declaration, equality with the Creator. Every rebellious thought was known by Jesus before it was even formed. The Son saw the web of pride being woven in the cherub's mind. He saw worship turning into ambition. He saw love being corrupted into envy, and he did not intervene. This is the truth that few understand. Jesus was not caught off guard by Lucifer's rebellion. He was not distracted with other cosmic matters. He was not absent from the throne when the first sin was born. He was present, aware, and allowed it to happen. Why? Because interrupting Lucifer's corruption in the middle of the process would be to deny the very gift he had granted, the gift of free will. Jesus created intelligent beings capable of genuine love, and genuine love can only exist when there is true freedom of choice. Forced worship is not love, it is programming. The Creator watched his most perfect creation make the choice that would destroy his perfection. And in his divine heart, he was already calculating the price of redemption that he would one day offer to other creatures who would also choose wrongly. Lucifer did not wake up one day decided to rebel. The process was gradual, almost imperceptible at first. Small thoughts of self-exaltation, subtle moments of resistance to authority, silent comparisons between his glory and the glory of God. Jesus observed every step of this spiritual degeneration. The cherub began to question why he should cover the throne with worship when he himself was so glorious. Why should his wings bow in reverence when his beauty rivaled creation itself? Why should his wisdom be submitted when he understood so much about divine mysteries? The serpent of doubt coiled itself around Lucifer's thoughts, and Jesus saw every turn, every tightening, every drop of poison being injected into the perfect mind. Ezekiel reveals the exact moment of total corruption. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created, till iniquity was found in you. The word found in Hebrew suggests something that was discovered, revealed, brought to light. Iniquity was forming secretly in Lucifer's heart until it finally manifested. And when this happened, Jesus was there. The Creator not only observed the first corruption in history, he allowed it to run its natural course, because there was a greater plan in motion. A plan that would involve the creation of man, the fall in Eden, and the very incarnation of the Son to redeem what sin would destroy. Lucifer thought he was deceiving God with his rebellious thoughts. He imagined that his mental conspiracy was secret, hidden from divine knowledge. He did not know that every betrayal was being witnessed by the very Creator who formed him. The transformation was complete when the guardian cherub decided to act on his thoughts. When he went from contemplating rebellion to planning rebellion. When he began to seduce other angels with his distorted vision of freedom and equality. Jesus saw the exact moment when Lucifer crossed the line that separated thought from action. And yet, he did not stop it. Because the Creator knew that this rebellion would serve eternal purposes. It would reveal the nature of true love versus forced worship. It would show the difference between genuine humility and submission out of fear. And more importantly, it would prepare the way for the greatest demonstration of love ever seen, the sacrifice of the Son himself on the cross. The heart of Jesus grieved as he saw his masterpiece destroy itself, but his divine mind was already charting the path of restoration, not only for the angels who would remain faithful, but for a new creation that was yet to come, humanity. Lucifer did not know that his acts of rebellion were, paradoxically, fulfilling God's eternal plan, that his fall would set the stage for the greatest victory ever achieved, that his final defeat at the cross of Calvary was already determined even before his first disobedience. Jesus watched, allowed, and was already planning redemption. The corrupt cherub imagined he was challenging the Creator. In reality, he was fulfilling his eternal purposes in a way he would never understand. And when the moment finally came for Lucifer to act on his rebellion, Jesus was exactly where he had always been, in absolute control of all things. The tension in heaven reached the breaking point. Lucifer was no longer content with thoughts of rebellion. Now he acted. The cherub who once covered the throne with worship began to whisper heresies into the ears of other angels. His words were poisonous honey, seducing angelic minds with promises of freedom and equality. And Jesus observed every word being planted like a seed of destruction. The sun saw the conspiracy spreading through the heavenly courts like fire consuming dry straw. Angel after angel being seduced by Lucifer's rebellious rhetoric. Perfect minds being corrupted by promises of power and independence. A third of the heavenly hosts began to question divine authority. A third of the angels created by the very words of Jesus now contemplated turning against him. And yet Jesus did not interfere directly. Why? Because there was a crucial difference between allowing and participating, between observing strategically and acting impulsively. The Creator understood that this rebellion, as painful as it was, would serve eternal purposes that the rebellious angels would never understand. Then came the moment when Lucifer left the shadows. He presented himself before the divine throne and openly declared his intention of equality. No longer silent conspiracy, but public challenge against God's authority. The proclamation echoed through the heavenly courts. Declarations of divine independence, direct challenge to the Creator. It was at this moment that Jesus acted, not by confronting Lucifer directly, but by commissioning Michael, the archangel who had remained faithful. The Son's orders were clear and definitive to lead the battle against the rebels. Michael was given divine authority to lead the battle against the rebels, not because Jesus could not do it personally, but because there were different roles to be played in this cosmic war. Michael would be the military arm of divine justice. Jesus would be something much deeper. The war exploded with unimaginable violence. Revelation describes the scene. There was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought. Swords of fire sliced through eternity. Angelic legions clashed in epic battle. The sound of conflict reverberated through the dimensions. The very fabric of heavenly space trembled under the impact of the most brutal war ever fought. And where was Jesus during this explosion of cosmic violence? He was on the throne, not as a passive spectator, but as the sustainer of all things. While angels fought and heaven divided, Jesus kept the entire universe functioning by the word of his power. Billions of galaxies kept spinning. Trillions of stars maintained their light. Countless planets remained in their orbits. All because Jesus, in the midst of heavenly chaos, sustained creation with unbreakable authority. This was his true battle. Not to wield a sword against Lucifer, but to demonstrate that even during the greatest rebellion ever seen, he remained in absolute control of all things. Michael fought with angelic strength. Jesus fought with creative power. The difference was infinite. Lucifer quickly discovered that challenging the Creator is a battle already lost before it begins. It did not matter how many angels he seduced. It did not matter how fierce his resistance was. It did not matter how determined he was in his rebellion. He was a creature fighting against the Creator. The battle, though epic, had an inevitable result. Michael and the faithful angels prevailed not by numerical superiority or greater military skill, but because they fought with the authority of the one who created them. They were instruments of divine justice executing the will of the Son. Jesus did not need to step down from the throne to guarantee victory. His mere presence sustaining all things while allowing justice to run its course was enough to determine the outcome. The dragon, as Lucifer was now called, was defeated along with all his followers. A third of the heavenly hosts discovered that rebellion against God is spiritual suicide. But the most impressive part of this war was not Michael's victory. It was Jesus' position throughout the conflict. He remained on the throne, sustaining creation, demonstrating that his authority transcends any challenge that may arise against it. Lucifer imagined he could wage war against God and win. He discovered that he was waging war against the one who sustained his very existence. It was like a fish trying to dry up the ocean that sustains it. The defeat was complete and humiliating. But Jesus was not yet finished with the rebellious cherub. The expulsion from heaven would be only the first act of a much greater drama. The second act would involve the creation of a new species, humanity, and a new battlefield, the earth. Lucifer thought losing the war in heaven was the end of his story. In reality, it was only the beginning of a divine plan he would never understand. A plan that would culminate in the greatest victory ever achieved. Not in heaven through angelic war, but on earth through a sacrifice. Jesus remained on the throne during the rebellion, because he knew this battle would prepare the way for a much greater victory. A victory that would not only defeat Satan definitively, but offer redemption for a creation that did not yet exist. The Creator watched his masterpiece destroy itself, knowing that soon he would create an even greater masterpiece, humanity, and that Lucifer's fall would set the stage for the greatest demonstration of love ever seen. At the exact moment heaven was split in war, billions of galaxies continued spinning in perfect harmony. Trillions of stars kept their flames burning. Countless planets remained in their precise orbits, everything functioning with the same perfection as always. How was this possible during the greatest chaos ever seen in the heavenly courts? The answer reveals a truth about Jesus that few understand. Hebrews declares that the Son sustains all things by the word of his power. Not just some things, not just when convenient. All things, all the time, in every circumstance, even during a cosmic rebellion. While angels fought with swords of fire and the very fabric of heavenly space trembled under the impact of battle, Jesus kept every atom in place through his creative authority. Every electron spinning around its nucleus, every gravitational force pulling with mathematical precision, every physical law operating with absolute consistency. This was a demonstration of power that transcended any military combat. Michael fought against demons. Jesus fought against chaos itself, preventing the rebellion from destroying the cosmic order he had established in creation. The difference between the two types of battle was infinite. The archangel wielded angelic weapons and depended on supernatural strength to defeat the rebels. Jesus wielded reality itself and sustained the existence of everything that exists, including the very angels who rebelled against him. Consider the devastating irony. Lucifer tried to wage war against the one who kept his very existence functioning. Every rebellious move of the fallen cherub was only possible because Jesus allowed him to continue existing. It was like a fish trying to dry up the ocean that sustains it, like a shadow trying to destroy the light that projects it, like an echo trying to silence the voice that originates it. Completely impossible. But there was a profound reason why Jesus chose to sustain all things during the rebellion instead of simply annihilating the rebels with a thought. This choice revealed something fundamental about his nature and his eternal purposes. He was not only a God of raw power, but a God of perfect justice. Allowing the rebellion to run its natural course to its inevitable conclusion would demonstrate to all creation that defying divine authority always results in total defeat. Jesus could have vaporized Lucifer and his followers the instant the first rebellious thought was born. But that would not have taught the faithful angels anything about the self-destructive nature of sin. It would not have demonstrated that divine justice is patient, yet definitive. So he sustained all things while allowing the heavenly war to reveal eternal truths. While Michael cut through the demonic hosts, Jesus cut through time and space itself, maintaining the continuity of existence. While the archangel physically defended the throne, the Son defended the very possibility of existence continuing. Every sword stroke of Michael was fueled by the sustaining power of Jesus. Every movement of the faithful angels was possible because the Creator kept the laws that govern motion, force, and energy functioning perfectly. Michael's victory over the dragon was real, but depended completely on the sustaining action of Jesus. This truth reveals why Jesus did not need to rise from the throne to guarantee the rebels' defeat. His mere presence as the sustainer of all things made victory inevitable. Not through brute force, but through ontological authority, the power to determine what can or cannot exist. Lucifer discovered that he was waging war, not just against a stronger opponent, but against the very foundation of reality. How could he win a battle when his ability to fight depended entirely on the one he was fighting against? The rebellious cherub had angelic strength. Jesus had creative authority. The difference was not just in degree, but in an entirely different category. It was impossible for any created being to defeat the Creator, no matter how many allies he gathered, or how fierce his determination. The rebels' very existence depended on the continuous permission of the one against whom they rebelled. Jesus demonstrated during the heavenly war that he does not rule through intimidation or superior force, but through ontological necessity. All things depend on him to continue existing. To rebel against him is to rebel against the very possibility of existence. And yet, he allowed the rebellion to continue until its natural conclusion. Why? Because this war was paving the way for an even greater demonstration of his character, not just as the